dating on the ship, sea bays, ship boyfriends. Oh my word, y'all just really want to know. How much does semester at sea cost? Now, what did I pay for it? Completely different question. Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, I am Gracie. Based on the title of this video, I'm sure that you know I'm going to be answering all of your questions from semester at sea. That's right, if you are new here, then you wouldn't know that I was on the spring 2020 voyage of semester at sea amid a pandemic, fleeing countries and only doing 4 countries out of the 12 that we were supposed to go to. Lots of crazy things, but still the best 2.5 months of my entire life, and I'm here to just address all of your questions, comments, and concerns and sort of go through them. So a couple weeks ago on Instagram, I put up one of those question stickers and asked y'all to ask me semester at sea questions, and we're estimating around 8,000 responses. It honestly overwhelmed me, and I've already been feeling very overwhelmed to sit down here and film this video and to go through all this stuff. I don't know why, but then seeing how many questions I got. Now, granted, a lot of them are repeated questions, but still, just to see the sheer amount of questions and how much people want to know about these different types of things is crazy to me. I've picked out the ones that I thought were worth mentioning and answering, and hopefully that kind of covers all of them. There are a couple ones that I can't really even answer. If you have those questions, I'm sure you could reach out to Semester at Sea and they would love to help. Without further ado, let's get into the questions. I'm not going to be answering these questions in any particular order. I don't even know how I could possibly order these in any sort of sense. I'm just going to kind of go into it and get started. So the first thing that seems to be a huge question is, how much does semester at sea cost? Now, what did I pay for it? Completely different question. Basically, semester at sea has price breakdowns based on cabin. If you're going in fall of 2020, because of this coronavirus stuff that's still going on, it's a little different, but for the majority of it, and for all the rest of the voyages going forward, it's by cabin type. So you can have an inside triple, an inside double, an outside triple, an outside double, a saver cabin. There's definitely some different types of things. I had an outside double, just is the most expensive cabin, and I want to say it's around $32,000 for the semester, and that includes like room, board, tuition, everything. That doesn't cover your fuel surcharge. It doesn't cover any field programs or any money you might be spending on the ship on fries and burgers and things like that. Those are all added expenses, but it does cover like your class and getting to and from the ports and living. That's kind of that. The other question that kind of goes along with that is, so many people are asking about if I got scholarship or if you can get scholarship through it. I go to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and I was able to use my Alabama scholarship toward my semester at sea because they are affiliate program with Alabama. They're really good about transferring it over. Now, I had some friends who went to Penn State and like they had to withdraw for the semester from their school because they can't go. So there are a bunch of people in a lot of different boats, no pun intended. I was able to use my Alabama scholarship, and then I got additional academic merit scholarship from semester at sea, and I also was a student assistant. So that is another one of the questions, is how does the student assistant position work and what did I do? So I was a social media student assistant, specifically the student vlogger, even though we kind of combined all of this student position. I helped out with semester at sea's TikTok. I did some Instagram stories. I helped film for some YouTube videos. So I was kind of all over the social media and doing those kinds of things, which was so fun. And that is a $4,000 scholarship. So I didn't get like paid to do anything. I don't get paid for anything I put on YouTube for semester at sea. That's just because I love it. But it is a $4,000 student scholarship, and that also is like any of the other student assistant positions is $4,000 for the semester. So that's if you help out in the library, or if you're with IT, or if you help out with the lifelong learners, the ship kids. All of those positions are that scholarship, and you have to apply for that, and semester at sea will sort of let you know how to do that for mine. It was pretty easy for me. I know for some people it was difficult, but I basically had to fill out the application, write a little essay for it, and then do a video submission, kind of giving a tour of Alabama's campus. Lauren asked if I had any form of seasickness. Now, I have been on a lot of cruises. Semester at sea was technically my 21st cruise. So my family goes on a cruise every single year, and I've never been seasick. I've been totally fine. The waves were insane sometimes on the ship, like 18 feet waves, and instead of a seasickness for me, it was more of like, oh my gosh, I'm just annoyed by it, or like, oh, you know, you're just kind of feeling weird and you're running into walls on the ship, like just on accident, because the ship's moving so much. You're like hitting from wall to wall as you're walking down to your room, so that's pretty funny. But I definitely know a lot of people who got seasick. They had barf bags like everywhere on the ship. Like toward the end of the voyage, like somebody just like Oh my gosh, terrible. Some people just get so seasick, but I personally didn't have any problem with it. And down at the clinic and the medical supply, they have free seasickness medication that they give out. So if you do get seasick, they do have that for you. And I know a lot of people wear the patches. I had the C bands. I wore them once. I don't even think they did not that I was feeling anything, but we were like, let's try it out. And I don't really think they did much, but I know that people really relied on the patches and the pill. Is there any international students, and if so, how does that all work? Yes, there were plenty of international students, people from all over, from Europe, Asia, Africa, you name it, they were there. I don't really know how all that works. I'm sure the Semester at Sea website will let you know how to do that. There's so much information on there. And ISE, who's the Institute for Shipboard Education, yeah, who runs Semester at Sea, they are super helpful, so I know that they'll be able to help you out with that. But yeah, there were plenty of international students. How difficult is the application process, and what are the chances of getting accepted? I didn't think the application process was terrible. It's a pretty standard like college application kind of a thing, because you are like technically transferring, I guess, over for Semester at Sea. And so yeah, there was just kind of like you fill out your information, and there was a little essay that you had to do and submit it in. I applied, gosh, October of 2018. I got in November of 2018, and then I put my deposit down the first possible day, February of 2019, February 6th, 2019. I literally think I was the first person on our voyage to put down her deposit. And then I was on, obviously, January of 2020. How is actually living in a cabin versus vacationing in one? This is a great question. So obviously, like I said, I've had quite a bit of cruise experience, and it kind of did prepare me for this, but a little bit different. Luckily, I had an outside double. 10 out of 10 recommend. I was able to wake up every morning and look out into the ocean, and it was just wonderful. Having a good roommate is a big part of being able to live in that cabin. They're small, not gonna lie, they are small. We loved our little cabin. 5068, the 5th deck, is definitely the best to live on. I'm just saying, our outside double was amazing, and Sydney and I just clicked right off the bat. She had messaged me on GroupMe a couple months before, and I was kind of like, okay, we kind of talked back and forth, and I was like, sure, let's be roommates. You know, it's kind of like when you're a freshman going into college and you're trying to pick a roommate, and like, you know, people kind of say who they are, and you're like, well, I hope that they're telling the truth. It was kind of like that all over again, but it worked out so incredibly well. Like, she will be one of my bridesmaids. I love her. I can't wait to visit her this summer out in California. Split things half and half. We were able to just like work really well in the space that we were given. Definitely recommend using like under the bed stuff. One of your beds underneath it will house your life jackets. That was my bed, had the life jackets underneath it, but I still was able to fit like all my duffels under the bed, and some snacks that I like put in the duffels that were extra in there. So definitely different, but as long as you work well with your roommate, you'll be totally fine living in there. People didn't even spend a ton of time in their cabins. We kind of spent some time in our cabins, also because it was a little different, our voyage, than most, being on the ship a lot more than other voyages in the past have, especially back to back to back to back to back. And if it's terrible weather and you're not gonna sit outside by the pool, like go in your room, watch some TV, kind of do whatever. And a lot of people like to come in our room, so it becomes a safe haven for some people, but other people like don't go in their room at all. So just depends on like what kind of a person that you are. Did you ever use the on-ship salon or spa, and if you did, was it good? Yes, I did use the spa services and the salon services, I guess. Like this second week I was on the ship, I ended up getting a 60-minute massage. There was something with my back was just hurting so bad from sleeping. I wouldn't even say the beds were uncomfortable, but just something from sleeping in the beds, my back was killing me. So I ended up getting a massage on the ship, and it was amazing. It was really great. I also got my nails done once, and it was kind of toward the end, but I just got some gel polish, and it was pretty great too. So yeah, miss those girls. Emma asks, how much money did you spend in port? How much extra do I need to save? Again, our voyage was a little bit different. We spent 5 or 6 days in Japan, 11 days in Vietnam. We had around 5 days in Mauritius, and we ended up having 10 days in South Africa because me and my group stayed a little bit extra. And my mom and I added up all the stuff that I charged on the credit card. Basically how it works is I paid for everything off the ship. All my field programs, everything I paid for with my own money. My parents gave me a card to charge it to so that I would have 0 service charges and transaction fees, and then I Venmo over the money. And we added it up, and I don't know, do you guys really want to know? All of my charges from Hawaii all the way up to South Africa ended up costing me $4,004. So that is kind of all the crazy stuff that we did, all the bungee jumping and all those kinds of things. And to think that that's only 4 countries is a little scary, but once we found out that we weren't really going places, we kind of didn't, I don't want to say we didn't care anymore. Obviously I knew I was gonna owe the money back, but we just were kind of like, yeah, let's do the safari, let's jump off a bridge, let's jump out of an airplane, let's like do both cameras and spend a little bit more, because we don't get to go to Morocco, we don't get to go to China. So again, a little different. I did budget everything out before I left, and so you kind of see how that all went away. We did get some currency, and I did spend all the currency that I bought as well, so probably spent a little bit more than that $4 grand, but so worth it, everything that I did. And not only that though, is that I got more money back from money that I had spent on field programs, like in a check in the mail literally this past week. So I basically made money back that I had spent before, which is pretty nice. But I did budget out almost $9,000 in field programs because I really wanted to stay busy. So here's another great question from Maddie. How far in advance before embarking did you start planning flights, shots, visas, etc.? So once you are accepted into the Semester at Sea program, they'll sort of give you a timeline of when you need to have things done by. I always was done before those times came, but I just wanted to make sure that like I had everything done. And visas, I think, had to be sent in no later than November 1st. I already had my visas back by like October 20th because I ended up planning a surprise trip to go see my sister in Switzerland. So I did pay a little extra to have them expedited, but again, like once you get all that, Semester at Sea has like Trivisa that they go through, and they sort of help you out with all of your stuff. So they definitely will provide all those things. Flight wise, my mom, we had only booked the one out to San Francisco, luckily, and I was like, oh, when I'm on the voyage and I know we're gonna want to travel after and I'll meet friends and blah blah blah, so I'll book my flight later. Again, obviously the voyage did not end up going that way, so thankfully I didn't have a flight to like get money back on. But I know some people had their flights booked before, like to leave Amsterdam before we even left for Semester at Sea, and I know other people who had purchased them like during the voyage or were going to and then didn't get around to it because we weren't going there. Hannah asked what type of classes are offered for various majors. Again, the Semester at Sea website will have all of that information, so any more questions like that, I'll probably just recommend you there because every voyage is different and has different professors and different classes that were offered. I took global studies, which every single person is required to take on the ship, and then I took 3 business classes. I saved macroeconomics so I could take it then. I took international marketing and entrepreneurship. Melissa asks, what is my biggest tip for homesickness? Call your parents. You get about 7 minutes of Wi-Fi per day on the ship, and some people are able to, I don't really know how it works, but through WhatsApp, like stretch those 7 minutes on like an audio call with their parents, and that's what they would use on their time, which I did a few times until I discovered there's a $30 call card you can get at the front desk. Now, if too many kids have this card, it won't necessarily be the best thing, so kind of gauge how many people have it, because there's only 4 phone lines on the ship. So basically you buy this $30 card and it's 6 hours of calling back to the United States for those 30 bucks, and I didn't even use that my whole call card. But there were definitely some times where I tried to call my mom and all the lines would be full and I wouldn't be able to get through, especially with all the time changes. Like there's pretty, you know, kids know what times they're able to call their parents because everybody's parents are gonna be like going to bed around the same time, whereas like you might be waking up in the morning and you're 11 hours different from your parents. And so there was definitely a couple of challenges with that, but that's definitely my best advice, is to be able to call them and email. You can totally email them back and forth. That will always work. My mom would send me books of what was going on. Same with my sister, like she sent me books of what was happening, and my best friend Madeline, like all these huge paragraphs of being able to keep up on their lives, and I was able to like email them back paragraphs. Now, while I don't necessarily prefer the email typing out method, like I'd so much rather be talking because I love to talk if you can't tell, that is definitely another way to stay in touch. It's not super hard to stay in touch with your parents. Now, there were a couple times where I went just like days without talking to my parents because it'd be so hard to figure out the time zone, the time difference, and you might have class when your mom's able to talk, but you can't talk, so you have to go to class, and it's like different time zones, and it's kind of crazy. But I don't think I was homesick like at all. The first time I cried was on my birthday, and that was just from like disappointment and things like that. Dating on the ship, sea bays, ship boyfriends, oh my word, y'all just really want to know. So yeah, there are things on the ship called ship bays, and that can happen anywhere from first couple weeks to the last couple of days on the ship. I mean, who knows? And so basically that's kind of like when you're ship dating, like you kind of have your person, your boy, your girl, you're like go-to. Some people do come on the ship actually already having been dating, which I didn't know like was kind of a thing, but there are quite a few couples who like came together in semester C, and I thought that was really cool. But most of like the ship bay things that happen just kind of happen because you meet people. And so a lot of you are asking about my cousin Nick. Not really my cousin, kind of a ship bay, but it was all like kind of funny games just being on semester C and like hanging out with all your best friends. And I had a lot of guy friends and a lot of girlfriends, and it was great. And yeah, there are definitely people who like have their ship bays and continue to date outside of semester at sea. And nobody I personally know, but I do know that there are some people who are doing that, so that's pretty cool. And it's really fun. A lot of people think like semester at sea some like big booze cruise, party cruise, all things like that. I will get into the alcohol because somebody did have a question about that, but it really isn't. Like, it's very academically and friendship focused, as well as like of course adventure focused once you get off the ship. But on the ship it is really just unique, incredible environment. Christy asks, did you feel like a real life version of Sweet Life on Deck during your SAS journey? Absolutely. I woke up every single morning, I'm not even kidding you, every single morning thinking, this is a dream. I feel like I'm in a movie. Like the whole time I felt like I was in a movie or some sort of like reality television show or something that wasn't even my own life. I don't even know what. It was just magical every single day to be out in the water or like in some random country doing some crazy, maybe somewhat sketchy things with your friends. I definitely was like, I'm living the sweet life for sure.